What is it? Everybody on lunch break or something? Everybody, just chill out. I'm trying to do something right now. Okay. Good morning. It's morning here in Indiana where I live. This is the Knitting Thru podcast. My name is Bethany, and some of you who have been here for a while may notice that I've changed the name, and that's something I'm really happy about, actually. So if you have any questions about it or want to know why, feel free to ask. But I have so much to talk about today. I don't really want to talk about branding stuff or... Sorry, the buses are going by. I don't want to talk about branding stuff or anything like that. I am going to just kind of dive right in because there's a lot to talk about. There are some failures that I need to address that I am going to be trying to redeem in the month of February. We'll see if that happens the way I want it to. But there's just been so much going on, and I tried to record this yesterday. Today is February 2nd. I tried to do it yesterday on the 1st and totally forgot like half of January, the things that I did. And so I thought I was done and then realized that was bonkers. I was just missing half of January. Granted, that makes a lot of sense because in the second half of January, I was preparing for and went on this knitting retreat, and it was a huge deal for me, and I really loved going, and it was really fun. So anyway, here we go. We're going to dive into January finishes and January tidbits because there are quite a few tidbits that I wanted to share with you. I also have some sewing that I wanted to share. You know how before you go on a trip, and what is it in the maker blood that's like, I need to make this thing that I've never made before before I go on this trip so that I'll have the thing that I never made before and I'll really enjoy having it while I'm there. And that bug bit me before I left on that knitting retreat. And I was like, I need to do that coat that I've been wanting to do. I'll sew the coat before I go. So for a couple of weeks in January, that was silly, but I got it done. And that's the part too. When you do that, and it's kind of impossible, the timeline that you've set up for yourself, but somehow you do it, like it doesn't discourage you from doing it next time. So anyway, this is like trying to get in my eye. It's been trying to do that all morning. Whatever, we're on day one here. It's fine. So first, finished objects that we're dealing with are a couple pairs of mittens. So before I left on my trip, I really wanted to get those done. Also, which is silly, I was gone for a week. We could have bought mittens, but we could have purchased mittens. Why does we could have bought mittens sound like I'm speaking English incorrectly? We could have bought some mittens, but I thought that's silly. I have the stuff that we need for mittens here, so I can just make them. The knitting Nakabi yarn is I think her Merino DK, and the main color is Wonka Bar, and the like cotton candy blue, pink, purpley variegated colorway is called Snozberries, and I held it together with a mohair. I actually switched mohair colors because I ran out at one point, and it didn't make that big of a difference, which was funny to me because the first one was gray with like these rainbow speckles in it, and the second one was this lighter pink with these rainbow speckles in it. So the pink, I guess, was more saturated on the second mitten, but it didn't make that big of a difference. And then when I was striping in the Snozberries, I would do a slip knit, repeat around the first round, and then do my stripe and then do that again to exit that color stripe also. So she loves them. She thinks they're fantastic. She did say they're okay. So I was trying to do the mittens really quickly before I left, right? So I start knitting them up. She's like, "Oh, Mom, those look so great." And I'm like, "Awesome." So I tell her to try them on. I think after I finished the thumb gusset and I was like working on the hand, I wanted to know how long I should knit the hand. And she put it on and she goes, that's a little itchy. And I'm so frustrated that my response was just like, I just kind of sighed at her, and she goes, "It's okay, Mama. I can wear them. It's okay. It's okay, Mama." And I was just like, "Oh, God bless your little people pleasing heart. No, I didn't. I'm sorry." Like, what I really want is that you have mittens that you enjoy. So I said, "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have reacted that way. I am trying to get these done quickly, but if they're going to be itchy for you, I don't want to finish them while they'll be itchy." And she goes, "It's not that itchy. It's okay." And I said, "Well, if you think they're itchy, if you try them and you think they're itchy later, you can tell me and we'll give them to someone else and I'll make you another pair of mittens." And she goes, "No, Mama, I like these. These are okay." And I was like, So I'm thinking about making her another pair of mittens anyway. They are very warm and she said that she likes them. So I wonder if, just since our house is warm and she was trying them on inside, that's why they felt itchy. I don't know. But also, I am one who can get over a little bit of prickle factor as well. And so I think she and I might have the least, we are on the lesser sensitive end of, what is that called? You know, we're on the less sensitive end of like the sensory processing thing, I think. So I'm just going to let her tell me how she fares with that, because she really does like the colors a lot. And I don't know if she will continue wearing them. Yeah. So, other than my ridiculous moment of kind of mama selfishness there, it went really well and she likes them and she's been wearing them, and she hasn't like talked about them being itchy or uncomfortable since then. So it was probably just that it was too hot when she tried them on. I also finished Jack's mittens. By the way, these are both from the World's Simplest Mittens by Tin Can Knits. That pattern, it's a free pattern. And I just, did this little stripes and stuff in there because you can, right? You can, since it's the World's Simplest Mittens. I did Jack's mittens and I finished the thumb gusset and I asked him, "Hey, do you want me to stripe in that blue that you were talking about?" And he said, "Yeah. How about diagonal stripes?" And I was like, "Oh, okay." So I just did a 4x4, like 4 blue, 4 green, 4 blue, 4 green, all the way around for 2 rounds. And then I would offset it by 1 stitch. So that meant that over the thumb gusset on one mitten, to offset it, I would do 5 stitches of one color, and then that offset the repeat for that row and the next row, and then I would do it again. And then on the other mitten, I would do 3 stitches instead of 4 to offset it in the other direction. So he really, really likes them. And then I finished that part and I said, "Oh, great. Why don't you try these on and I'll make sure that like the length is right." And they're just the teeniest bit too long, which for me, I think is great because then next year he'll be able to wear them. And then he said, "Can you do blue thumbs?" And I said, "I totally can do blue thumbs, sure." So I finished the thumbs off in the blue and he really likes them. So I think it's so cute the way that if you give children the ability to customize what they want, what they choose, and how much they enjoy it. Just how much they enjoy it is so sweet to me. So, and I used for his mittens, I just used leftovers from the sweaters I made last year. So this is for this mandolin cardigan, which I did not mention what I'm wearing, but this is the mandolin cardigan. Oh, look at that. Can't tell I've been wearing this puppy. There's pills under there. This is the mandolin cardigan by Amy Christoffers. I love it. I wear it all the time. It is the coziest knit I think that I own. This is Eco Wool Cascade. I don't remember the name of the color though. I think it was a number. And it's this lovely blue. And then this is shepherd's wool in the color blue spruce. This is what I used for my champagne cardigan earlier this year. Before I show you my last finished object of, well, I mean, I finished them this morning, but I'm saying that they're my last finished object of January because it's the January catch-up, right? I'm cheating, but it's okay. I'll tell you why. Here is one sock, and isn't it so sweet? I like it so much. It's the heel toe do-si-do pattern by Kay, the Crazy Sock Lady. And I was using Freckled Whimsy's Christmas Advent skein. So there's 24 stripes in here. And you can see these these are the same. Isn't color theory funny? Because when you have it next to the purple, it looks a little different than up here. But these are the same. And I was really excited about these. But for some reason, they don't fit my foot. Guys, I've been knitting socks. They were the first like project that I made that wasn't just knits and purls, right? That wasn't just a flat object. So like I've made blankets before, I've made scarves before, but I had only made one blanket and like one scarf, and then I decided I really liked knitting and I wanted to make a pair of socks. So I did. And these are so sweet. They smell really good actually because it smells like the wool soak that I use. But I was so happy to finish one, and then it didn't fit. I couldn't put it on. It's okay, I can get it on, but it's so ridiculously tight. And I think it's because my twisted stitches, there are increases that you twist to close in this pattern, and I think they're just way too darn tight. There aren't very many, obviously. It's just on the front here, and the foot felt fine as I was like, I mean, I guess I don't know if it felt fine. I just assumed it would be fine, I guess, because I could not get, like, it is so tight. So I was really discouraged because every month in 2024, I wanted to take a whip from 2023 and finish it up so that by the time, you know, sometime during the year, I wouldn't have any more whips from 2023, and that would be really great. And I was really enjoying these, and I started them in 2023 because I started them when, you know, around Christmas time. December 1st actually is when I started them. And I even tried my first little anatomical toe and everything. And, I don't know what happened to my gauge. Maybe I was just so excited that I just like did it way too tight, but Lordy, it is tight. So the other sock is somewhere. I finished, I think, the red stripe here around the gusset decreases on the other one. I don't even know where it is. I was so disheartened because I was really excited about them. And the great thing about this skeins though, is that this is how much I have left from one sock. I split them into two, and you can see the kind of purple here. That's this purple here. So I have enough to do another pair of socks, more than enough. But I'm just so miffed about it. And this is like what would be like extra stripes essentially that came in the 100 grams to gain. So I have this little bit left of the mini, and I'm gonna finish the other sock. I would have enough to do the toe for the other sock, which is great, but I don't even know what to do. Like, they're just a pair of Cinderella socks now that I'm probably just gonna have everybody in my family try on and see if they will fit someone with a thinner foot than me, I guess. And if that doesn't work, I suppose I'll give them to my daughter and pull the toe out and have them fit her, because that was so frustrating. So I was really miffed about that, but I figure I might as well just finish them. It's probably 2 or 3 days worth of knitting for me to finish them, and someone else can have a pair of socks, and then I can knit the other pair, either just adding some stitches into my stitch count for the heel toe do-si-do, because apparently I'm so excited about it. I was knitting like having a death grip on my needles. Or I could choose a different pattern to do, because I did enjoy the heel toe do-si-do pattern. There's nothing wrong with it. It's great. But of course you have to account for like your gauge and what you're doing. So I might do them on 2.5 millimeters next time, because I did them on a size, I did them on a US 1, which is normally what I do them on. But yeah, I might do that. I might size up, but I will probably just, now that I'm thinking about it, I would probably just add some stitches because I like a denser sock. Speaking of denser socks, I also finished a test knit for Merediddle Makes. She's wonderful. Mary is wonderful. You should follow her on YouTube and Instagram and all the things, because her level of intentionality in knitting is just, I love it. It's so nice to watch, and not just her passion about shape inclusivity and patterns, but also about getting yarns that work for her and her lifestyle. And I just really, really love it. And it is really nice to see that, because then it helps me to sort through what's important to me too. So anyway, she has this pattern called I think it's called Bodhi. Dang it. If I'm saying it incorrectly, I will put a correction on the screen. I looked it up like while I was knitting them, and now I don't remember. But it's about a leaf that is meaningful to her, and it's her story about it is just really sweet. And I love when designers include the inspiration for the design, because it's more meaningful to me then too, to be able to knit it. So I will put pictures of my first sock here. I really loved the way this knit up. It was so beautiful. And I kept trying it on because it's a toe up construction. I kept trying it on, and it was great. And then when I finished the leg, I could not get my foot through the leg. So this is the second sock in January that I am like, oh yeah, this is going to be fine. And then it doesn't fit. So granted, this is because I didn't trust her needle recommendation in the pattern. And I think I'm just going to go with what her needle recommendation was for that, because I do want to have a pair of them. I think they're wonderful. And a pair of full colorwork socks is just, I mean, comfy, let alone durable, let alone all the things. So I have my yarns here so that I can do it again. Try again. I've never done a Flegel heel construction before, and that was fun to do. I gotta say, that was great. And I think if I were doing it in a sock that wasn't a full colorwork sock, that it would be even easier to do. And that was actually one of my plans for 2024, was to try a Flegel heel, because I've heard people really like it, and I think it would be really easy to modify the tread heavy heel flap and gusset construction with a Flegel heel, because it's kind of just like the reverse of that. So I need a little more practice before I do that, but I'm going to do that again. The pattern is wonderful. Mary is wonderful. I want to make them again. And I was so done by the time it didn't fit my foot, because I was so excited about it. I was so proud of it. It was so beautiful. And I felt like a dummy because I knit them on a US 1, and I think their recommendation is a US 3, which I have, but I think I would like to do it on Magic Loop with a US 3, because I really enjoyed doing it on Magic Loop with the first time that I did it. So I finished those, and I definitely plan on making them in February, because number one, I think that's a credit to Mary. There are not many patterns that when it's a bust, and even if it's my fault for it being a bust, usually I don't go back and do it again. But these were so functional, aside from the fact that they didn't fit my feet, but I can see how functional they would be, and so beautiful. I was really happy with the yarn that I chose, and I'd really like to try it again. So after twice trying for a finished pair of socks in January and realizing that I would have to do it again and basically recast on for both of those pairs of socks for me to do that, I was just like, okay. So I went back to my little cart of whips and pulled out the pair of socks that were closest to being finished from there, which were my Grannies in a Row socks. And they are done. They're finished. I just Kitchenered the second toe this morning, and so that means that I did not meet my goal of getting a 2023 whip finished in the month, but I'm okay with that. The legalism is not going to imprison me today. The whole point of the goal isn't for me to beat myself up every month about not finishing something. It's about trying to get things finished that I was really excited about when I cast them on, and just got distracted by a shiny new thing. So I like these. I think they're very fun. These are the Grannies in a Row socks by Everything Shapes Us. I used a Happy Feet yarn as my main color. And then, so it's Happy Feet by Plymouth Yarns in the color number 16. So you can see there's these blips of colors in there. And it kind of pulls up here in the cuff and then in the heels as well. But I'm okay with that. It's all right. It's not going to bother me. In fact, I think it's really interesting how it works up there. There's a little bit here too. So yeah, it's just really interesting to me where it pulls and where it doesn't. Because you're switching the kinds of stitches you're doing and the amount of stitches that are here, that's just going to happen when you're dealing with variegated yarns most of the time. And then these little granny squares, I did the granny square, and then I also did the edging stitches that she has you do, that you can do. This was my first ever crochet project. I think it's so fun. These are poofier than what you might find in other people's socks, because I did 8 granny squares instead of 6, because when I seamed the 6 together and tried to put my foot through them, they did not fit through. So I just made 2 more granny squares instead of redoing them all. Because I did them all, I blocked them all, I seamed them all together, it didn't fit my foot, and I was like, you gotta be kidding me. And so I just did 2 more of them and seamed them, and and then my foot did fit through there. So I am pretty pleased with these. I don't know if I'm going to save them for a gift for someone. I'm gonna block them and then just kind of set them aside. I have some sisters who crochet, and so I'm wondering if they would like these, if that would be kind of fun to gift to them. We'll see. We'll see, because that's another goal for 2024 is to not have like gift anxiety, because it always is self-imposed, right? You don't have to do that to yourself. The contrast color there is from Teeny Button Studio. This is her Bartok colorway. And this is a 75-25 merino nylon. And the Happy Feet is actually a 90-10 merino nylon. So I'm also interested in how those will wear. Isn't this just like the most subtle pink you've ever seen in your life? I love it. I love it. I'm hoping there's enough of it to do like cuffs or something on a pair of socks. I've just been like knitting little, like you can tell, I just was knitting little parts of this sock with it because I really love it. I don't know what she does to make it soft and so squishy, but I really, really like it. So I'm probably going to be using the rest of that in something else soon because I am very yarn motivated. I often am looking for patterns that would fit the yarn that I really want to use. For this textured pattern here, this is just something I chose to do because I thought I might get bored with the rest of this just being a vanilla sock. So this is just a round of knits, a round of purls, and then a round of knit one slip, or yeah, it doesn't matter, right? And a round of slip one, knit ones. And then I forgot to just kind of just knit on this one. I did it with these two, but I forgot on this one. So I just made the other one match and did the same thing for both of them. So it's silly, but it matters to me. So these are done. Finally, they're done. And I don't know what I'm going to do with them. I don't know who I'm going to give them to or if I'm going to wear them, but I'm just going to give them a little time to rest and think about it. If it feels right to give it to someone else, I will. Okay, before we move on to whips, I have a few tidbits that I wanted to share with you of things that I have done to change some finished objects. So the first thing is I went ahead and added an I-cord to my kids' mittens. I made I-cords for the younger three for their mittens. I don't know if Jack wants an I-cord for his. He probably does because he wants to be included, but I'm going to check with him. I made an I-cord with the yarn I had left over. This is Knitting Nakabi's yarn called Golden Ticket. This is also from the New Year Countdown box. It's just so fuzzy and soft and warm. It's perfect. So I had enough for that, which was perfect. And then I just have the littlest bit left that I'm probably going to put in some scrappy muscle burrow at some point. And then I had some yarn left over from these mittens as well. So I just added those in here. This has an alpaca that I held with the blue, but I didn't hold it for the I-cord because obviously that's not necessary. And I don't think I had any left of that. So that's okay. Two sweater tidbits that I have for you is I finally pulled back and knit these little cuffs a little longer on my Chained Oblivion cardigan. I love this cardigan, and that's why it was taking me a while to pull it back and redo the cuffs a little longer because I kept wearing it. And the whole time I was wearing it, I was like, oh, if I would have just knit these a little longer, that would be perfect. So, but that means that I have to stop wearing it and like put it on the needles and do it. And I didn't want to do that for a while because I kept wearing it to fancy things like tea, and that means I have to like let it be unavailable and on the needles for a little bit because 2 cuffs isn't going to take a long time, but it does mean that I have to, put it aside. So that one's all done, which is nice. Totally, utterly satisfied with this one now. I knit the cuffs too short because I was afraid of not knitting. I was afraid of not hitting the test knit deadline, and I wanted to make sure to hit that on time and have, good finished object photos and things. And of course, everybody's cuff length is just something that is personal and where they like that to hit. But this is truly, truly perfect now. I don't foresee myself tearing this back anymore for any reason. So that's nice. The other thing I did was I made my dad's sweater. I had it, I steeked the hem of it to make it a split hem. I keep seeing everyone making these sweaters with split hems, and I thought, that is so great. That looks really awesome. And maybe I could do that with my pullover, and then it would lay a little bit better, because that's the only thing that I didn't like about this sweater. I love the way the collar fits. I love the shoulders. I love the sleeves. But the bottom, I mean, it's a worsted weight sweater, and it's non-superwash, and so I like that it holds its shape really well. But that meant that the bottom was also holding its shape really well, and so when I would move, it felt just more bulky than it needed to be. So that could be fixed by knitting it a little longer if I wanted to, and I have pulled the hem back and knit it longer before, but I don't have any more yarn to do that again. So I thought I would just steek the sides and do the split hem on there. I just sewed on my sewing machine just around that part of the hem and then just cut it right there, just to, and making sure not to cut through any of my sewing stitches. And I really, really like it a lot more. I think I will hold on to this for a while. There are some things about my sweaters that are gnawing at my brain a little bit, and I'm sure I'll share those with you guys later as I continue to do more garment knitting. But this thing is just so soft and so cozy. It looks really, really nice, and it feels like a sweatshirt. Like it feels better than a sweatshirt. Honestly, I went on the knitting retreat, and I got like this cute little the KnittingThru sweatshirts for me and Alyssa Joe, and it had a sheep and a llama or an alpaca and a goat on it, and it was super cute. But my goodness, there is nothing like a wool sweater. I kept wearing that sweatshirt and not even thinking about it and going outside and freezing my bones. This is why I used to be cold all the time, because fast fashion just can't produce things like this. Yeah, not for the price I'm willing to pay anyway. I have 2 more projects that I've been working on this month. I am striving to have less whips that I'm working on during the month so that I can make more progress on them in less amount of time. So that's kind of worked, I guess, except that I got frustrated with a couple of whips, and so I didn't finish those. But anyway, I started a pair of socks. I don't know exactly what they're going to be yet, but I'm really enjoying this yarn. This is tenderfoot yarn that I got from a local yarn store in New York when we were there. It's in Altamont, New York, and it was a sweet, sweet store called the Spinning Room. I have just done 20 rounds of 2x2 cuffs here, and not 20 rounds quite yet of 2x2 cuffs here. I am toying with the idea of it just being a plain old sock. I'm not sure if it'll be just a vanilla sock or a ribbed sock or what, but I'll decide when I'm done with the cuffs, I guess. And then the whip that I am very excited about and have been putting a lot of energy towards is called the Slip Stitch Party Shawl. I have this habit of casting on 5 skein fingering weight shawls and then when they take a long time being like, oh, this is taking forever, which is just silly, right? I like that it's big. I like that it's drapey. That's the whole reason I picked it. But for some reason, I'm expecting it not to take very long. So part of this is inspired by a book that I'm reading. I picked up this book called Caroline that I think I borrowed from my mother years ago. I never returned it because I wanted to read it. And at this point, I am about this far in. We're getting close to the end. And I just love it. If you're a mother, this book will hit you in your heartstrings, man. It's just all about her thoughts and feelings, right? As she and Charles are trekking from Wisconsin to Kansas, and the better life they're searching for, but also her anxiety about taking care of her children, and she's pregnant, and like she and Charles have like this respect and love for each other, even though like she has this prejudice against Native American Indians. But like when you hear her story, you kind of understand why she's like that, but Charles doesn't feel that way because he doesn't have that experience. And so like they're back and forth about that, and it's just really, it's a lot to think about. But I am just in tears, like with every chapter almost, just from the empathy that I feel towards this woman who I honestly don't even know is like how true all of this story is, but I can feel it. And I know all of those feelings, right? I don't know what it's like to live on the prairie. I don't know what it's like to trek in a covered wagon, right? But I know what it's like to feel like you have to protect your children from things that you honestly can't protect them from. And I know what it's like to disagree with your husband on something, and like you love this person, but also you're just not, like, the of one mind thing is just not happening. And then like at the same time, she comes from this background of like poverty and want, and Charles doesn't. And so she's just always doing this internal guilt slash preparedness thing where she feels bad about how she feels like she needs to ration everything out, but also if she doesn't ration anything out, will she feel worse when it all runs out, and she feels like she should have. And Charles is just so full of joy and adventure that sometimes she's like annoyed by him because he doesn't seem to be living real life, right? But he's there, and he's doing all the things, hunting, bringing them water, doing all the things that they're doing as a team. And I just identify with her so much. It's crazy. And in the book, there's this shawl that she knit before she had Mary, who's the oldest girl. And she had Mary, then she had Laura, and then she's just had Carrie while they're in Kansas. And she's wrapped them all up in this shawl with her, and like both she and the baby are in this shawl, and she views it as like this way that she protects her children. And she calls it bonding them to her, but I feel like it's very much like imprinting language, like trying to give your child a stable sense of safety and warmth. And it's just, I was just like, oh, that's so sweet. And I have similar memories with my children, honestly, with knitwear. And even recently, my son didn't have his coat. He left it in the car or something, and I had this on. And I said, well, come in here, come, like, get tucked in. And he held onto my body like a little monkey, and I wrapped this around him and held him with it, and we went out to the car, and he was fine. And he after that was purposefully leaving his coat places so that he would be able to be in my sweater. And he would say, "It's okay, Mom. I don't need my coat. You protect me in your sweater, yeah? Protect me, Mom." And he would like put himself in my sweater. And as as much as I want him to remember his coat and be safe, it was very, very sweet. And so the shawl thing is just very like kind of a metaphor to me of like the way that a mother tries to take care of her children and be intentional about the way that she covers them, whether it's with her own body or with something she's made or with care and intention and love throughout their lives. Like that's something that's really important for us to do. And so anyway, I'll actually show you the shawl now. These are the colors that I'm using. I'm very happy with them. I'm very happy. Oh my goodness. Look at this. This is so great. These are the colors I'm using. And I started with, I started out anyway with this red and white. And when I started, I was using kind of a more, what do I want to call that? It's a color changing yarn, but there was red in it, but it wasn't showing up as brightly as I wanted it to. And by the time I got to this point, I thought, you know what, I'm just going to do one fade and then just move on with another red. So I worked on it until we got to the local yarn store in Altamont, and I bought something that was very red. This is a local dyer there. It's the Periwinkle Sheep, and it is the colorway Cranberry. And so I have a couple of sock yarns that I'm using. These are both sock yarns. They're 75-25 merino nylon blends. But then the white here, the white here is a Knitting Nakabi fingering weight. It's dyed with avocado, and it's a 50% non-superwash Corriedale and 50% British mohair in the colorway Shroom. I absolutely loved this. I absolutely loved this yarn when I saw it on her website, and I ordered it, and then she gifted extra. I think she gave me 2 of them, or maybe I bought 2 of them and she gave me 1 of them. I had 3. And I'd been putting pieces of them in other projects, but really I wanted to use it in a shawl project because I just thought it would come out so beautifully with that. And I was right. I'm so glad I actually did do it in a shawl project because I was so right. It's coming out beautifully, and I can't wait to finish this section. I have I know I have under 80 rows left to do, which, I mean, that's a lot, right? But you increase on this side on every right side row. So I don't know if I'm gonna make it with this much left for 80 rows of that. Less than 80 rows, but around that. But I'm just gonna keep going until I run out and then move on, because I can always do another part of the shawl longer and make sure I match stitch counts at that point. This is a yarn that was gifted to me by Liz Co Knits. I absolutely love it. It's this woolen spun 100% wool. Oh, it's just gorgeous. I've used it before and I really, really enjoyed using it. And then this is a Patagonia Organic Merino in the colorway Mahogany. And you can see there's like these red flecks in it and stuff. And I've used this for a few projects too. And don't worry, when I show you this, there's like a little bit more. I think it's gonna make it. And I really enjoyed using that as well. I think I would have liked it if I could have done a non-superwash thing for the whole thing, but it's okay. It's all right. This one is another one that I got at the yarn store there, and it is Dream in Color yarn, and it's on the the smooshy cashmere base in the colorway Naked Shame, which I find hilarious. So I think it's so beautiful, that gold. Before I go, I wanted to ask for some pattern recommendations. I have some of my stashes like burning a hole in my pocket, if that makes sense. I really want to cast on some sweaters. I have this beautiful green yarn. That I got from the Green Mountain Spinnery, and I'm just itching to cast it on. I don't know what to make though, because I saw this pattern called the Everybody cardigan, and it looks really neat. I like the lines. I like everything about it. I don't like the button band because it's like this garter stitch button band, but I learned how to do a double knit button band last year, and so I could just sub that in for that. But then I realized if I do that, I'm just essentially making another champagne cardigan with some textured stitches in it. And I don't think I want to do that. I like the champagne cardigan I have, but I also would kind of like to make something new. So I'm debating about what I should do. I saw this cardigan called the Botanist cardigan that looks really pretty. That one would take some brain power for sure. But yeah, I really want to cast this on. It's a DK weight yarn, and I've made mostly worsted weight sweaters before. This one I used a sport weight yarn for, and I really like the way it drapes and everything, so I think I would really, really like a DK sweater. But I am having trouble sifting through the cardigans because I know I want to make a cardigan, and the Everybody cardigan just had a lot of problems in everyone's projects. Like, they were just like people that were so exhausted, they're like, I'm not even gonna go over all the errors here. And I was like, doesn't sound like it's for me. So I don't know if it is a translation problem or something, but yeah, it seems like there are a few more kinks to work out for that pattern, and it's in a book, so I'd have to buy the book. And if there's that much errata, I don't know if I want to buy the book. So I've been looking through my books here, and I'm not sure. I'd really love to hear some opinions about like what you've made and what you've really enjoyed, and that would be lovely if you could share that with me. I have this and a couple other Nutiden sweater quantities in my stash that I'd really like to turn into garments this year. That's kind of my goal. That's what I would like to do. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I'd really like your recommendations for some of that. That would be lovely if you have like a favorite DK cardigan that you made that you just wear all the time. That would be awesome. So that's everything I worked on in January. I'm excited to have a few things finished. The mittens are off my mind, right? Those are done. I just need to find Janie's again or knit her another pair. Who knows? And then I finished the Grannies in a Row socks. Granted, I could just finish the Advent socks and count that as a 2023 whip. It would count, but I can't wear them obviously, so it feels kind of bleh right now. So I'm not sure which 2023 whip I'm going to work on in February to finish up, but I know I want to get started on that shawl again. I took a little bit of a break. I knit on it the entire retreat, almost. I started it on the train right there and then knit on it the whole time I was there. And then when we got on the train on the way back, at some point I was like, okay, I don't want to get burnt out on this. I'll just knit on this pair. I'll just start a pair of socks, and because you can always use more socks, and give myself some time to breathe and readdress it when I am wanting to get more into it. So I'm hoping to finish the Caroline book this week, and hoping to finish the Caroline shawl this month. So that would be really fun to have the books that I read this year to match up to some knits. That would be really neat. I don't know if I'll continue to do that, but we'll see. We'll see if that works. And if you can hear my children screaming, I think that means I need to be done now, because they have been letting me sit here and talk. They come in and interrupt me. That's what most of the cuts here are, is me forgetting something and having to look it up, or my children coming in and telling me they need something and me going to do that and coming back. Sometimes this takes hours, but I love it. So I'll see you next time, guys. Thanks. Bye.